What is up, NFC East football fans, and welcome into another edition of the NFC East Roundtable, powered by BetUS. Week 2 is in the books, and it wasn't a great week 2 if you are a fan of anybody in the NFC East outside of the Washington Commanders. A wild weekend for the NFC East, really the NFL in general, but this division is crazy right now. You got 3 teams at 1-1, I believe, and you have the New York Giants, which KB is going to tell us all about tonight. Wild division and a wild show in store for you tonight. In order to kick things off, though, we got to start with the man who's feeling better than anybody after week 2. That's my main man, Rio. Talk to me. W on the board, Rio. How you feeling tonight?
Absolutely amazing right now. It was ugly. It was a nasty football game, as I predicted. But as the only member of this panel who could talk about a victory this week and a divisional victory, I'm feeling good going into week 3.
KB is probably not feeling as good as you are, on the other hand. There he is, KB, bagged up KB. He gifted you the W, Rio, and he's wearing the bag to show it. You promised you'd wear it, KB. You're good on your word. I love it. Talk to me through the bag. How you feeling?
Listen, we were just the worst team today, and that last week. And if we just had a kicker, this is the New York Giants for you, okay? If we just had a kicker, we would be the only team in the NFC East to have a win this week. But of course, the Giants invent ways to lose games, and they became the first team in NFL history to lose a game not allowing a touchdown while only scoring touchdowns. How about it? How about the Giants?
Sometimes you got to sign a kicker off the street to hit 7 field goals.
Yeah. And how ironic that Rio was just complaining last week about the kicker situation, and the Giants lose the game because now they don't have a kicker, and they win the game on 7 field goals on their 6th kicker. I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing.
No kicker. Malik Neighbors can't catch the ball. It was a rough weekend for the Giants. It was an even rougher weekend for my main man, Jay Tuck, who dominates the Cleveland Browns in week 1 just to get dominated a week later. Jay Tuck, I don't even know where to begin, but I can't wait to hear from you tonight.
I just want to see if Kid Blue has one more of those bags, man. Pass me a bag, Kid Blue, because I don't know what the hell happened to him.
I'll hand it to you. It's getting hot in here, man. I can't do
this way, man. Pass this way, man, because we definitely got bagged. The Saints came out there and put us 6 feet deep in the dirt. I'm not sure what happened. Embarrassing loss, but Cowboys have bounced back. This week, my guy Rio gets to laugh a little bit, but that'll change. After this Sunday, everything will recalibrate, man. So I'm not worried about it.
Go Lamar Jackson.
And then the man who had the weirdest loss of the entire weekend. I still don't know what the hell happened on Monday night. Gary, have you recovered a little bit since then?
No, I haven't recovered. So let me say this. This is the first week where I finally have a problem with what the coordinators did. We're going to talk about that. I feel like Z-Bot, you could have been playing running back right this week for the Falcons and maybe run a couple outside zones. You might have ran for 85 yards this week against the Philadelphia Eagles front line. That's disappointing. So yeah, let's go into it.
Listen, the Falcons asked me. I said, no, I got obligations already with the NFC East. I can't be involved with anybody else. So I said I have obligations on Thursday night. If you need me this coming week, though, give me a buzz. I haven't heard anything. But this past weekend, fellas, it was wild. Rio, I know you're feeling good. The rest of the fellas are not. This division is all over the place. The NFL, really, through the first 2 weeks, is all over the place. Let's go right back to what we were just talking about, and that's with Gary. Let's start from what we just saw most recently, and that was Monday Night Football, Eagles versus the Atlanta Falcons. The Eagles have it in the bag seemingly all game long. Saquon Barkley, on a questionable call from Nick Sirianni, drops the pass on 3rd down. They settle for a field goal, and prevent defense, I don't even know how else to describe it, allows Kirk Cousins to essentially walk down the field in a half a minute or so, touchdown. I had actually fallen asleep at the end of this, fellas. That's how this game was going. I wake up, and my brother-in-law looks at me and goes, you know what just happened? I go, what happened? Eagles took a knee and ended it? No. He goes, the Falcons ended up winning it. So, Rio, I'll start with you. You're the king this week on this episode. So I'll start with you. Monday night, you're watching the Eagles. You're thinking it's going to be a W. All of a sudden, Kirko Chains and company steal it from them. What did you see from the Eagles this past Monday night in that loss?
First of all, shout out to Kirko Chains, my former quarterback. If you want about the guy, that was the best quarterback of my lifetime in Washington. Shout out to him getting over his primetime woes to defeat an op of mine, to get the Eagles out of here on Monday night, walk those boys down in about 60 seconds to close out the game. Saquon Barkley's dropping passes. Nick Wright said it perfectly today on, I believe, Colin Cowherd's show. As good as that Eagles roster is, this is who they've been the last 10 games that we've seen them play football. This is who they are. This is who they've been. And maybe we need to believe them, because I'm looking around the NFC East right now, and nobody really looks like a threat through 2 weeks. It's very early in the season, but everybody still looks like who they were last year. And I love that they look like they were lost without A.J. Brown on the field. A.J. Brown's significance and impact on that offense means everything. They told everybody they stole from us when they gave us a third rounder for Jahan Dotson. He's out there running cardio on Monday night. He ran 27 routes and caught one pass for 6 yards. They're throwing the ball to Britton Covey and Calcaterra over him. They're lost without A.J. Brown. They still don't know exactly how often to use Saquon Barkley, and they Phillied it up, and they did it at home for the whole world to see. It was a beautiful way to cap off week one.
It was a strange one. I still don't know what the hell I watched, but what I did ended up watching was a Philadelphia Eagles team who still invents new ways to lose. You thought maybe they would have reinvented the wheel the way things went down in week one. They found a way to win that ball game, but this past weekend it was the opposite. KB, you're watching the Eagles Monday night against the Falcons. What was your biggest takeaway from what you saw from Philly in that loss?
I didn't catch the game live because I'm in a flag football league, so I had my own game to play that day.
Man.
But I caught the highlights.
Running back for the Falcons, not me.
I know I could have been in there, but I watched the highlights. I watched everything that went down, the Saquon drop, the coaching debacle, and the choke job that happened. And you know what's funny? Before during that Monday, you usually hear the talk when it comes to Kirk Cousins and he's going to lose because it's prime time. Surprisingly, I did not see any of that. I didn't see any Kirk Cousins, a prime time thing. So I'm like, man, maybe nobody's really saying anything. So maybe he's actually going to get a win here, and he did. And so it just seems like the Eagles aren't the team that I thought they were gonna be. So we're just gonna ignore that 14-win season that I had them getting this year. So Giants fans can stop beating me up on it. But listen, I have a feeling that this Saquon Barkley thing, especially for the Giants, that we're going to be taking turns having the last laugh. It's going to be Saquon Barkley laughing at the Giants for something, the Giants laughing at Saquon for something, and this was our turn. Him dropping that pass. Because listen, as much as I loved Saquon, he did a lot of that stuff. All that play right there where he just dropped an easy one. He did that with the Giants a couple of times. You saw it, Jay Tuck, in the first week of that Cowboys game, 40-0, where he just completely popped up a ball that was easy for him, and it was a pick six, and it wound up being on Daniel Jones. And it's just funny to see. But I'm happy. I'm happy that now the eyes are pointed towards the Eagles for inventing new ways to lose, because the Giants did just that on Sunday, but nobody cares about the Giants, so I'm happy about that.
You mentioned that pass, and yeah, look at Saquon. You got to catch that ball, no doubt about it. It's a perfectly thrown ball. It's right on your hands. The ball game's over. I wonder if the bigger question outside of can Saquon Barkley catch a football is the bigger question, can Nick Sirianni coach in crucial moments? They were running the ball well. Saquon Barkley, unquestionably one of the best running backs in the league. It felt like in a moment where a run at the bare minimum burns another timeout for the Falcons, and you still wound up getting what you got out of that drop pass. I don't know. Didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I know hindsight's 20/20. If he catches it, it's a different story. But Jay Tuck, what did you make of that whole ending in particular? Because up until that point, it felt like Philly was the better team. It was a pretty boring game. It's funny how the NFL works. If the last couple of drives are great, then we don't think about it like that. But the game wasn't great until all of a sudden it was, and it felt like Philly allowed it to be great. So what was your biggest takeaway from Monday night?
Yeah, Monday night. So I went to BetUS. I locked in my Philly -3 pick and told everybody on my Twitter community, It's good. It is a lock. We are good. We are going to cash this ticket. And then I saw, the Philadelphia Eagles go up by 6. So I tweeted everyone, cash it. We're good. Walk off, bat flip. I went upstairs, take a shower, get ready for bed. And my phone started blowing up. They choked, Tuck. They choked. I was like, who is they? How could they choke? There was only a minute left. There was no timeouts. Like, what the hell could have happened? And primetime Kirk marched all the way down on them easily with no timeouts and got in the end zone. And a lot of Eagles fans were saying, Tuck, what happened? I don't understand. Oh, yeah, you 1,000% understand what happened. And it's what your old friend Jay Tuck has been telling you all off.
More.
You got moored. You got Kellen moored. Welcome to my life, y'all, where you're sitting back. You're watching Saquon Barkley just go crazy, can do wherever you want in the running game, but he's got to get cute. He's got to get a little cute. He got to get cute. And this is the same reason why Mike McCarthy slammed his headset in Green Bay, because Kellen Moore does not know how to finish games. He just doesn't know how to feed the beast. There's always something creatively done that will ruin the course of the game. And it used to happen in Dallas all the time, where we're up by 3 touchdowns, but we're still airing the ball out of the place. And now Dak has 2 interceptions. There's a pick 6, and now we're down to Jacksonville. Like, why not just run the ball and finish the game? The Philadelphia Eagles just suffered the same fate, and Kellen Moore is to blame. I get it. Saquon has to make that catch, but they had 0 timeouts. You play the clock management game. You run the ball with Saquon. He probably gets it. I mean, hell, they probably jumped off sides anyway with the Falcons, so you probably had that there. You could have took the field goal, went up by 6, maybe left 40 seconds left on the clock. But Kellen just had to air it out, and that cost the Eagles fans the game. So it just is what it is. We've been trying to tell y'all this. He's a young offensive coordinator, and typically young offensive coordinators who have wrote in the stats that he's done in Dallas, right, should be able to write your own ticket in the NFL to become a head coach. There is a reason why he's been passed on from team to team to team, and the no identity offense just struck the Philadelphia Eagles and it cost them the game versus the Falcons. But good job, Kelly.
So the vibe I'm getting from you, Jay Tuck, you think Nick Sirianni is sort of the shield this week for Kellen Moore. You think that the blame should be dealt to Kellen Moore? Oh, yeah. Welcome to Mike McCarthy's life. Yeah. It's 1,000% Kellen Moore, right? Because Kellen Moore is the offensive coordinator. He's like Nick. Now, Nick could have probably overrid the call, but I'm not sure the dynamics in Philly. So Gary could probably tell you a little bit more about that. But I know in Dallas, Jerry Jones specifically said Kellen Moore is the offensive coordinator. So Mike McCarthy was just hands off, and he was so flustered under Kellen Moore because it was just, we constantly saw this week after week. A lot of people talk about the Dak interception year, but a lot of those games we were up. The Green Bay game, we were up. So why were we still trying to throw the ball 40 plus times? Run the ball and let's get up out of here. And it was the same thing I was already yelling week 1 when they were out in Brazil. Just give the ball to Saquon and get the heck up out of here in Brazil. Like, why are you still trying to air things out? You have AJ Brown gone. Like, just get the win. Just get the win and walk away. But Kellen strikes again, and this is his biggest caveat with that no identity offense. You just never know what you're going to get. And fortunately, it cost the Eagles. Very fortunately, it cost the Eagles. You know what I'm saying? You know, for other teams, it might have made sense, but when you have one of the better run games, when you have one of the better running backs, when you have one of the better running quarterbacks in short yardage situations, and one of the better offensive line, I don't really quite understand what the thought process was there. But at the end of the day, Gary, it still came down to Jalen Hurts having the ball in his hands at the end. They had a timeout. They only needed about 20 yards to go and kick a field goal and win that ball game, and he threw that ball game away. It felt like the Eagles just continuously stacked their issues at the end. So from the Eagles' perspective, Gary, just walk me through what the hell happened Monday and your biggest takeaway from it.
I see you, Rio. And let's be clear about this.
Put the solo cam on him, man. Put the solo cam on Gary.
Gary, the floor is yours.
Jay Tuck is absolutely right. Okay. This is a mistake from Kellen Moore. Very clear what needs to happen. And who knew, guys, playing on an ice skating rink week 1 actually helped the Eagles. Having an understanding of, we're not going to be able to run zig routes all day. We're not going to be able to be sexy out there. We're going to have to run the ball. It's going to be north and south, not east and west. We're not trying to do anything crazy. Just hand the ball to Saquon Barkley and get out the way. You might be the favorite. It doesn't matter what everyone predicts. What's working is what you should be doing, especially in big times, key times in the game. So completely agree with Jay Tuck. But actually the biggest problem I had with this game was what Fangio did with this defense. They were an abomination. They were horrible. And what people need to realize is the strength of this team is going to be the point of attack. What are you doing in the trenches? Everyone talked about Jalen Carter falling to this football team. How does he possibly end up there, right? Everyone said this. You got guys like Jordan Davis coming there out of Georgia. People are saying, yeah, he's not going to get after the quarterback, but he's going to stuff the run. You're going to make that difficult on running backs. When we talked about Atlanta coming into this game, it was the play action game, right? What exactly are they going to do? Are they going to get back to that? They said they were going to. They came into this game, frankly, they didn't need the play action game. Didn't need to happen. They flat out ran the ball down the Philadelphia Eagles' throat. And frankly, Z-Bot, you said that you thought that Atlanta seemed like the worst team in this situation. Me specifically, I felt like the Eagles were dominated at the point of attack. They deserved to lose this. The stats, and you see, oh, okay, Zach Bond, right? Going out there, he's got 9 tackles. You got Reed Blankenship. He's got 10 tackles. So you're sitting there thinking, this must be a nice performance in the secondary. This must be a nice performance in the center of the field. Sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, it's not a good thing that your linebackers are making a bunch of tackles. It's not a good thing you've got safeties and corners playing well, because sometimes the play needs to end at the line of scrimmage. And you guys know that very well.
I'll tell you this, Gary, when watching that game, I want to go back to the end. The two things that stood out to me the most, one, very reminiscent of my Buffalo Bills giving a ball game away against the Chiefs in the 13-second game, this prevent defense, the idea that in a late game situation, you go away from what's working all game, because if the Eagles defense was that porous, then the Falcons would have had more than 22 points. They couldn't move the ball nearly as well as they moved it on that drive. They didn't even have to use their timeouts. They walked down the field. It was the only reason Philly had a chance. So when you're looking at these two sequences in conjunction, you're watching that team get walked on in a defensive style that clearly wasn't being played all night. And then Jalen Hurts in that moment. Talk to me about those two specific moments. The defensive decision to go with that prevent style, but then Jalen Hurts' decision to not manage the game in a way that it felt was necessary to get the W. That throw in that moment was just completely there's no other way to put it. It was unnecessary. They needed 20 yards and a field goal, and you know the Eagles are good for it in that situation.
Yeah, so offensively, the play call was wrong. It just was. And there's no other way to describe this play call. But when you really look at it, what are the strengths of the Eagles? It is running the football. There's no other way to put that. Jay Tuck said it beautifully. When you come into a game and you've got a player like Saquon, right? Kid Blue, he knows what type of personnel. They know what we have back there. Okay, well, if that's your strength, if turnovers are your weakness, the best thing you could do as a football team is lean into those strengths, and sometimes the clock will help you move that direction. The Eagles essentially ignored all of it and Kellen Moore tried to be the smartest man in the room. It was a failure. Mm-hmm. Now, defensively, Z-Bot, you mentioned prevent defense. The Arizona Cardinals can tell you very well. It prevented them from winning a Super Bowl as well. You're talking about a team that when you have good quarterbacks, especially veteran quarterbacks, if you give them time and space, they're going to find a way to make you pay. And so if the Eagles aren't getting home with 4 rushing or 3 rushing, you now know personnel-wise, you're not able to get there. You're not able to get home with that type of personnel. And for whatever reason, Z-Bot, we are running 3 or 4 guys at the quarterback and expecting and just hoping that someone misses a throw. It's not going to happen. Not in the National Football League. So it's unfortunate. I don't like to take a loss and then try to learn something. I was hoping we can escape this game and maybe try and learn and see what Kellen Moore can develop as. But as far as I'm concerned, what J Tuck says, it doesn't look like much development is happening.
The oddest thing, too, is it's not like you're playing Mahomes or Josh Allen or Lamar who can beat you outside of the pocket. Kirk Cousins is three steps back and throwing the ball. If you send guys at him, it's going to make it more difficult. They didn't even attempt to do it. It was a very, very odd sequence, and it wound up resulting in a 1-1 start for the Philadelphia Eagles that assuredly could have been 2-0. Speaking of which, let's see how that wound up shaking up the NFC odds over on BetUS, because I know Jay Tuck mentioned a minute ago that he said everybody should get in on the Eagles last week. He was right for about 59 minutes.
My God.
Right now,
the Giants.
KB, get your piggy bank out, buddy, because we got a big W ahead of us if that ends up hitting. Oh,
Washington 1,200, Giants 6,500. We're the same team. What the hell is going on?
We're not though.
We're the same team.
you got a better
Vegas knows best.
Oh
you
my
got a better
God.
chance of hitting the Mega Millions 2 times over right now than what the Bet US is currently projecting the Giants' odds to be for the NFC East. There it is in front of you right now. Courtesy of Bet US. I guess this is a reflection because obviously Dallas and Philly are both 1-1, but this might be a reflection of Dallas's blowout loss. They're plus 135, the Eagles minus 140. Commanders plus 1,200, and I don't know if I've seen a plus 6,500 in a divisional odd going into week
Where's
3.
Carolina at right now? That's what I want to know.
Probably the same as y'all.
I gotta check this. If Carolina's higher, then I'm done. I'm done.
I mean, with Andy Dalton, I think I'm taking Carolina, man.
Carolina might actually have better odds right now on Bet US to win the NFC East than the Giants do. I'd have to go and double check.
God, this is embarrassing.
But hey, listen, if you want to throw $1 on the Giants to win the East and somehow be able to afford a Maserati afterwards, you can do that, or you can get in on any of these guys. By the way, promo code's YouTube 150 over on BetUS. That'll get you 150% sign up bonus on your first deposit and 125% sign up bonus on your next 2 deposits after that. Those are the lines right now heading into week 3. You have a feeling that Philly would have been even higher than that if they would have held on, but they're still the favorite right now at minus 140. Let's talk about the team that's trailing right behind them. Shortly behind them at, what was it, plus 135 are the Dallas Cowboys. Jay Tuck, this was a weird one. It's funny. We talked last week on our pregame prediction show, and it felt like the consensus was what we saw from the Saints week 1 against the Panthers had to be an anomaly because it was just it was up and down the field, easy coming on offense. I don't think anybody would have predicted they would have done the exact same thing in Dallas. It just felt like flag football out there, and it was unlike anything I think anybody could have possibly predicted in that game, as the Dallas Cowboys go from drubbing the Cleveland Browns to getting drubbed on their home field 44-19. This game was 35-16 at the half. I mean, it was essentially over. There was hardly any scoring at all in the second half just because the pin had already been put in it. The stat lines in this game, by the way, are insane. The fact that they scored 44 points, Derek Carr had 243 yards on 16 attempts, and Alvin Kamara looked like he was back into his prime years. This was a wild outing. Rio, I have a feeling you enjoyed it, watching the Dallas Cowboys take the end of this, but what was your biggest takeaway from watching what the Saints were able to do in Dallas?
I had to watch the condensed version after our game finished because we played at the same time at 1 p.m. I already see Dallas fans saying, "Oh, we don't like playing at 1. We don't like the early games,
bro. We don't do that. That's y'all.
We don't do that. We play in the prime time spot." And I said it last week. Dallas drops a game they're not supposed to early every season. Last year it was Arizona. This year is New Orleans. But New Orleans, there might be something there. And the biggest thing you see is that Clint Kubiak offense. If you've worked with a Shanahan, if you've coached next to one of them, if you've coached in their offense, you're going to be a head coach one day. I think we're looking at that next hot guy, hot commodity coaching prospect, and he's the Kubiak son. So that offense was hitting on every cylinder. Every time I looked down at the scoreboard or the red zone scoreboard, Dallas was getting scored on again. I had to stop our game for a second because Derek Carr is hitting the Michael Jackson game. He hit the crotch grab on him, got a $14,000 fine. I need him to double up on that versus Philly next week. But man, it was a good time. Alvin Kamara turned back the clock 5 years. Derek Carr once again said, "Spencer Rattler, you're not getting on the football field this year." Clint Kubiak is letting his nuts hang. And the $60 million a year man, Dak Prescott, through 2 weeks, I mean, what's going on offensively for the Dallas Cowboys right now? But I love to see it. NFL Disney gets humbled at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard, and things are well in the NFC East right now. We all love to see Dallas lose.
KB, talk to me about what you saw from Dallas against those Saints. By the way, good point, Rio. It'd be amazing if the Saints can run it back again against the Eagles this upcoming week and do a double dip here. I'm sure that would make Cowboys fans feel a bit better. But KB, talk to me about what you
much fun.
You know, Alvin Kamara is due for that type of performance like once every year. I mean, he's just that guy, and I'm so happy it happened versus the Cowboys. And listen, I think the Saints are them. They got to be them to do that against the Dallas Cowboys defense. That, I guess, their confidence comes from somewhere, and it has some merit to it. So I was happy to see it. I mean, nothing really to break down. I think you're right. Rio was talking about Clint Kubiak, and yeah, it seems like he's going to be that next big name as far as the coaching names go at the end of the season, because he's really turned that. I believe he was also responsible for. He was with the Vikings for a certain X amount of years. I think he did. What quarterback? He was Kirk's 2021 season, I believe. Something like that. Had a crazy stat line. He was responsible for that. So, I mean, Clint Kubiak has a great resume, and he really showed it out against a great Dallas defense. And we don't really know. I don't really know what happened with the Cowboys. I don't think I bet on them again. I'm not going to bet on the Cowboys again for the. I'm not doing it again against them or for them. I think I lost both times because of the Cowboys. Won the game versus the Browns and lost the game versus the Saints. But I love to see it. I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. I love to see it. Cowboys, like Rio said, are due for a game like this every year. So I'm happy it came against the Saints.
Gary, you have these New Orleans Saints against your Eagles this upcoming week. Your takeaway from this game, is it more, wow, look out for the Saints, or was it more, this is a classic Dallas letdown spot? Like Rio said last year, it was almost identical to that Cardinals game. What was your biggest takeaway here from both sides, and how did you view that game in terms of, is it really the Saints that good, or is it just Dallas kind of letting one up here?
I agree with KB. This is about New Orleans. This is about what they do well, and that's running the football. So when you're talking about Dallas having no answer for this run game, we knew Dallas wasn't going to be able to run the football, but we love that offense because of what they do in the air. And defensively, we thought there was a lot more there, but New Orleans showed up and it was easy pickings. It was easy, right? And so now that you're seeing that, I was just telling you guys what Philadelphia struggles at, which is right now stopping the run. I am worried. I just am. Now, the Eagles can absolutely make adjustments. They can get more aggressive defensively, but based on our coordinators, other than Kellen Moore, we don't really tend to show a lot of aggressiveness. So going back to this game, Kamara could have scored another 2 touchdowns if they really wanted to. This was an easy game. It just really was. I didn't have this. I believe I had New Orleans being this overrated football team because they're playing Carolina. Carolina can't get anything going. Is it Bryce Young? Is it the line? We had no idea, but New Orleans has shown all of us that there's more there. It's not just coaching. They've got the personnel too. So, yeah, I think all of us should be somewhat worried to run into this team.
Jay talk to me, because you know what, this isn't a one-off. I mean, now we're talking 2 of the last 3 games the Dallas Cowboys have gotten ran out of their own building, and those are just 2 examples. We mentioned the Arizona Cardinals game as well. There's been a handful of this where Dallas on any given week can look like a team no one wants to face, and then all of a sudden they look like a team that everybody wants to face. I mean, I went back and looked at those stats once again. I cannot believe Derek Carr had the numbers he did with 16 passing attempts. Gary just put it perfectly. It was easy. Why was it so easy? And what's the biggest takeaway right now for Dallas fans? Because it's got to be frustrating seeing another one of these losses this early in the season.
Well, I think it was easy because Eagles fans and Cowboys fans show more fight online and social media than both of our defenses. Like there's no heart, there's no effort, there's no toughness, right? So like you said, Z, how many times are the Cowboys going to allow teams to line up in these heavy personnel packages and just run the ball down your throat, and you do absolutely nothing about it? So it can't be the scheme, right? Because last year, all offseason, Tuck, you don't know what you're talking about. It was Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn like small linebackers. Dan Quinn sacrificing the playoffs. Well, Dan Quinn going up there with Rio. So what's the excuse? And I think it's just a lack of heart, lack of effort. When you go through the film, it was god awful. And this is what happens when the Cowboys try to buy some good cleats You know what I'm saying? They go to Marshalls. You know what I'm saying? Like they get them from, and it blows out. So you went and got a Linval Joseph, and then you went and Kid Blue just dumped a Jordan Phillips on us because he knew it wasn't going to be nothing. Now,
Thank you for the picks. He's on the way to IR too.
so we give Kid Blue the Giants picks for Jordan Phillips. He's getting pushed 30 yards in the backfield constantly into the fact where the Cowboys have to fake bench him and put him on IR and say something's wrong with your wrist. And he's like, nothing's wrong with my wrist. And like, yeah, bro, there's something wrong with your wrist. It's just bad. The Cowboys did not go out there and spend the money that was necessary to really go out there and stop the run. And when you go out there and you're lipping the interior, Mousie Smith's out with a back injury this week, like we're just soft across the front. And NFL teams are seeing that. The one thing I can't do on the offense, I'm not going to draw back and step back and allow Micah Parsons to come at me and get 30 pressures or Trayvon Diggs to get pick sixes. I mean, Z-Bot, your team gave the blueprint in the NFL. Not throw the ball and just run the ball at the Dallas Cowboys. And it seems like as of right now, they've done nothing to stop it, right? If Micah Parsons lines up every time on the right, cool. We'll just run to the left. And that's what they did. And Alvin Kamara gashed us. Now, offensively, I know a lot of people are talking about Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott was trying, bro. Like he really was. But then you have a 4-string receiver out there, slippity blippity, and falling, tripping over his feet, leading to an interception. It's like, what else can you do when you're down 35 at halftime? It's just a wrap. So I feel like offensively and defensively, the Dallas Cowboys have a huge identity crisis in the trenches, and they're extremely soft. The Saints were able to go out there and just get pressure at 4, drop everybody back in 7, and just take the underneath soft coverage, and it just makes you like, because there's no threat of the run game. I know Ezekiel Elliott, but you have Deuce Vaughn out there, Rico Dowdle, they do nothing. So there's nobody to fear on this Cowboys offense besides 88. So we're going to take away 88, and if we get beat by a Jalen Tolbert, who had a decent game, but Brandon Cooks didn't show up, no one else showed up, and if this continues to be the trend, it's going to be a long season for the Dallas Cowboys. So eventually what's going to happen, it's got to man up and grow up here. That's as simple as it is. I feel like the Cowboys were the toughest gangsters in the room until other gangsters come in the room. Like we'll beat up on the Daniel Joneses, we'll punch on, Deshaun Watson, we'll punch on those guys. But then when it's a Derek Carr or Patrick Mahomes or a Josh Allen or a Tua, we're just not the same team. So it's going to be up to the Cowboys, especially this week. We'll talk about it to show and prove and say, no, we're not soft. You're not just going to come in AT&T Stadium and run all over us. But this Sunday, Tuck will be in the buildings. I don't do noon games, but 3 o'clock, I'll be in there. You know what I'm saying?
Neither does your team.
National television is my vibe, man. I don't do the local slot, man. But we'll be in the building.
You prefaced this a little bit. We're going to talk about it more in the show we have coming up later in the week in terms of preview in week 3. But just give me real quick how big this week is, because this is a playoff game for Baltimore. If they lose, statistically, their season's over. But for the Dallas Cowboys, not only do they fall to 1-2 if they lose, but it's just one more opponent, right, that you consider to be one of the better teams in the league that they would fall to. So with that said, real quick, I mean, how big is this game coming up after this loss?
Extremely important. It's going to be about your courage and who you are as your identity, right? Because what cannot happen, and Cowboys fans sometimes allow it, we'll allow Baltimore come in, we'll lose to Baltimore, but then next Thursday versus the Giants, we'll bounce back. And then there'll be sounds from the sidelines, and Cowboys fans will say, oh, well, we're 2-2, and look at where we're at. No. You have to go out there and show and prove that you can punch on people in your own weight class, and this Sunday will be the time to prove it versus the Baltimore Ravens. But
don't mess around and lose to the Giants now.
If we do that, if we do that, they're gonna be in the chat like, what happened to Jay Tuck? Where'd he go? Man, I'm out, man. I'm out.
Am I tripping, or does this feel like one of them NFC East years where it's gonna be up for grabs?
It is.
Weird.
It's very Dr. Jekyll.
Like, you know what happens every time the NFC East sucks? The Washington Commanders win.
Right.
The Washington, whatever they want to call themselves at that point in time, win a division all the time. All the time. It's never legitimate.
NFC East with Bet US.
Checking in for duty, except we got a young quarterback that may be worth something at the helm right now. So let's do it.
Eight wins and the Commanders get the playoffs. Man.
Yep.
That game is going to be absolutely massive this week. I can't wait. And I got a feeling the loser of that game, they're going to need to head over to Shinesty and get a pair of new underwear, because their season could very much be in the balance, especially Baltimore Ravens fans. And I'll tell you right now, Jay Tuck, I'm rooting heavily for your Dallas Cowboys this upcoming weekend. But right now over on Shinesty, we got a new deal going on. 10% off right now, RTS 10. You guys got to go check this website out. I know we usually play the Dan Mitchell commercial, and it doesn't show all the options in that, but I've been scrolling through here. They got some crazy stuff in here, man. It's unbelievable. And I just keep thinking, what's better than kicking back on a Sunday, watching football, and you're rocking the glow in the dark bare backbones, Shinesty underwear. I mean, Rio, you imagine this past weekend, you're laid back, right? Jaden Daniels, first W of his rookie year, and you're kicking back in the bare backbones, glow in the dark. I don't think it gets better than that. So if you want to get in on that, if you want to get in on that, RTS 10. Yeah, exactly right, KB. It must be nice. RTS 10. That'll get you 10% off right now over at Shinesty. KB, one of these times we're going to hop on here. I promise you, we're going to hop on here. We're going to have nothing but good to talk about. Unfortunately, right now, that's not the case. That's not the case right now.
Yeah.
You mentioned it a little bit earlier, but I have to re-emphasize it. The New York Giants score 3 touchdowns, or excuse me. Yes, the New York Giants score 3 touchdowns, was it right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And the Washington Commanders scored
0.
Why don't you tell me? Yeah, KB, why don't you tell me? I think I have it right. But
field goals.
Yes.
So I said this on a video. So if I were to tell you, like, say you didn't watch the game at all, if I were to tell you that during this game, the Giants scored 3 touchdowns and the Washington Commanders scored 7 field goals, what would you say? It's tied 21 all, right? Oh, it's going to overtime. That's not the case because the Giants didn't have a kicker. So they had to go to 2 points all the time and couldn't convert at all. So they only scored 18 points for 3 touchdowns. Yeah, so that's what happened.
I just wanted to make sure I had that right, and I did. What I also know is right is that is the second time in the history of the entire league that is ever happened. I think the first time was back when I think Otto Graham was playing football, the black and white days. I think the field goal posts were in the middle of the end zone back in those days when this last happened. So insane game that wound up going in Rio's Washington Commanders' favor, 21-18. The Giants had it. No kicker, a drop from Neighbors. It just felt like finally Daniel Jones did enough to actually win it, and everybody else couldn't do enough to get the W. So we're going to get to KB and Rio on this game in a little bit here, but let's start first with Jay Tuck. Was this not the most classic Commanders-Giants game ever? What was your takeaway from this one in the NFC East, Jay Tuck?
The battle of the bottom dwellers, right? But like I said, overall, man, I know that KB has to be hurt because at least you were scoring offensive touchdowns, but it's just it's always something right now with the Giants. If it's not Daniel Jones and there's not, you don't have a running back, and if it's not the running back, it's Kayvon Thibodeau can't get pressure, or you can't protect, or you don't have a field goal kicker, and so you're just seeing all the little chinks in the Giants' armor just falling apart, and the Commanders were able to go out there and get the victory. So overall, man, I just think that when it comes to the Giants, they're a long way. Sorry, KB. They're a long way from getting right. I think that you're probably going to have to go a different route. We get a new head coach in the draft. You're going to have to get a quarterback for sure. I know there was conversations about Bryce Young, but they said he's not going to be on the trade block. But
oh my God!
But as of right now, I just don't know. I'm just trying to, because like Giants fans will ask, like, how would you fix it, Tuck? I was like, we'll burn it down and just rebuild from the ground up, because there's not a lot there besides outside the defensive line. So overall, I know it was a bad loss, but special teams matters, man, and the Commanders were able to find a way to get that victory. So, but I don't want to get too braggadocious because hell, they might mess around and run all over us next week. So I'm gonna chill. I'm gonna chill on KB.
2 weeks.
Yeah, I can't. It might be a win or go home game for us next week. So, but overall, man, the Giants just have a lot of work to do. So, but overall, good win. For the Commanders. When you have a young quarterback, you just want to get one on the board and keep things moving.
That would be what would happen, right? Dallas goes in, walks all over Baltimore. Then on Thursday,
the Giants, right? I was like, bro, I'm just done with y'all, right? Yeah, 40-0 to the Ravens, and then we just struggle in overtime and lose to the Giants, man. I'm just like, I don't know, man. So
hey, at least we all get to watch that one on the grand stage. Thank God that game is on primetime. Cannot wait for it.
What? No.
Oh yeah, Gary. We're gonna be watching that team, man.
We get to do the pregame show, KB, and everything.
Oh,
man.
That's right. That's right. Oh, my God. I can't wait. Gary, what did you see from this interdivisional battle between the Commanders and the Giants? Your biggest takeaway from both teams?
My biggest takeaway was how far the Giants are from being a well-put-together organization. It doesn't seem possible that you're not able to kick the football. It's insane that this is the case, but I guess if someone told me that Malik Neighbors would have 10 catches for $127 and a tutty, and this football team would be looking on the outside looking in as an 0-2 franchise, I'd be shocked. This is part of the reason why this type of performance was why I told KB I can still see this team winning 6 or 7 games and actually surprising some folks. But when you go out there and you just can't win a football game against a very young Washington team, and this is a Washington team, by the way, that really needed this game. They had to win this football game. Next week, you got Monday Night Football against the Bengals, who are going to be out for blood. Washington had to win this football game. So I just thought this was a game that when I predicted this game, I believe Rio was right over the target on his score. I don't know if he's gloated about it yet. He's probably waiting his turn.
He was close,
but I will say, this football team, they did what they had to do. It was going to be an ugly, close game. It went exactly the way we thought it would.
I'm going to let Rio get his gloating moment in just a minute here. But before we do, we got to hear KB's side of this. Because KB, look at the opportunities we know right now for the Giants. They aren't vast. When they do have opportunities, you need to be able to pounce on them. This game was the Giants' game to have. And the frustrating thing, I think, is usually Daniel Jones is the easy person to point the finger at. This game, that wasn't the case. It just felt like for once he finally put them in a position to get it done. Everybody else kind of failed them. I just don't understand how they lost this game. How frustrating was this one for you? Because as I just mentioned, the opportunities, they might not be abundant, but when they're there, you got to have them. And it just felt like this was the one that they had and it slipped through their fingers.
Yeah, this was a heartbreaking one for sure. I didn't think I'd ever have a heartbreaking loss versus the Commanders. I mean, it was bad. I wish they could have just killed us by 40 or something, man, because this one was bad. And you said it, Z-Bot, Daniel Jones, he's always like the guy to blame. It's always him. We do multiple film sessions on what he missed, what he messed up on. I'll be honest with you, I did my film session on him, and I was like, man, I was impressed with what I saw from him. Like he looked like a good quarterback. And going against the Commanders, that's just what he does. He's very comfortable playing that Commanders team, no matter who's on the field. And what Gary said, Malik Neighbors, 10 receptions, 127 yards and a touchdown. He was targeted 18 times. That is one of the most a rookie has ever been targeted. He joins like a couple of other receivers, Puka, Odell, Randy Moss, being targeted as a rookie. And it was a good game. Like you look at the offensive line. This is the best the offensive line has looked in years against a very good front seven. That is a very good front seven. Frankie Louvu, Bobby Wagner. I thought they were going to be a huge problem. I mean, we were great in the run game. Daniel Jones was able to move in the run game. Devin Singletary had 95 yards and a touchdown. Like he looked really good. Everywhere across the board, as far as offense goes, looks really good. We just weren't able to get into the end zone that much. I mean, we had 3 touchdowns, which is great, but there were plenty of opportunities where we could have gotten to the end zone, but the Giants and their incompetence weren't able to do it. Defensively, this bend but do not break defense needs to end. It needs to leave the NFL. I mean, I can't stand it. The Giants have had multiple defensive coordinators over the past, I want to say 12, 14 years that constantly run this type of defense where it's let them get down the field, play this soft zone, like Fangio style defense. I'll be honest with you. A lot of people love Fangio and his defense. I think it's outdated. I think it's terrible. And I think it can really catch you slipping if you're not able to bait. If you have inexperienced cornerbacks, inexperienced secondary, and they're not able to bait in zone coverage and they just allow chunk yardage time and time again, the Giants are that team. Shane Bone's defense is rush 4 guys and everybody play coverage. And when you have a secondary that is very inexperienced as the Giants have, and you're not getting pressure up front, even with the likes of Dexter Lawrence, Kayvon, and Brian Burns, you are going to get torched downfield. And that's exactly what happened against Jaden Daniels, who runs I love Jaden Daniels. I think he played a fantastic game, but that offense for that Cliff Kingsbury offense is so simplistic. I think a high school quarterback can run that offense. It is so simple. It's look at your first read. If it's not there, look at your dump off. If it's not there, take off and run. I mean, that's pretty much all it was. And the Giants could not stop it. Even if they shut down the first read, they couldn't even do it because they were playing 9-10 yards off the line of scrimmage. They gave Jaden Daniels the first read time and time again. And on top of that, they couldn't set the edge either. So they allowed Jaden Daniels to do whatever he wanted to do. And so the Giants deserve to lose that game. I really felt like they were the better team, but they just didn't game plan right. They did not game plan for this Washington Commanders offense, who don't run anything complex. It was very simple, and they couldn't do it. Shout out to Jaden Daniels. He looked very good. 226 yards in the air. I think he had like 44 yards on the ground. We were able to kind of contain him on the ground more than the Buccaneers did. But man, it was bad. And on top of that, the whole kicker situation. You know, like I said earlier, the irony of Washington not having a kicker. They just signed their 6th kicker, and he kicked 7 of 7 to equal 21 points. And the Giants lose the game because, for those of you guys that don't know the situation that happened, Graham Gano, who has been known to get hurt often, comes up during pregame warmups, and he's wincing on the field. He's kicking, wincing on the field. He shows up in the injury report a day before the game on Saturday with a groin injury. And you know, the Giants don't do anything to like bring up a practice squad kicker or anything like that. They just let Graham Gano play in this game, and first play of the game, a touchdown that wound up being called back. Graham Gano leaves it all out on the field, literally, and pulls a hammy, and he's out of the game. And we don't have a kicker. This is incompetence by the coaching staff. Brian Daboll knew he wasn't going into this game 100% healthy. I don't care if it was a hamstring injury versus the groin injury he was on the injury report on. It still kind of is a little bit of a collateral effect there. And you still, even if Graham Gano were to tell me to my face, "Oh, I'm good, coach. Like I'll pass all the tests. I'm good." I'm still going to be like, we have an extra spot on the 53. Let me elevate the practice squad kicker just in case something were to happen. And, you know, even in pregame warmups, he wasn't looking great. So that was the reason why the Giants lost, honestly, is because they didn't have a kicker. I couldn't complain about the offense. They looked good. And the defense, even though they bended so much, but they still didn't break. They didn't allow a touchdown. I got to blame it on not having a kicker. I know it just seems like a cop-out. It just seems like an easy answer, but that's the only reason why the Giants lost, in my honest opinion.
Rio, one man's trash is another man's treasure. I don't know how the hell the Commanders wound up winning this the way that they did.
God.
You know what's even crazier to me, Rio? I don't know how they didn't score a touchdown. Jaden Daniels looked phenomenal. 23 of 29, right? 226. Brian Robinson Jr. was him on the ground, nearly 8 yards a carry. I think the better question, it's not how did you win, it's how didn't you not get into the end zone? Regardless, it wound up working out. So this is a special moment. First W for you with Jaden Daniels. Talk to me about how it felt and how you're feeling about it afterwards here.
All right, so it's my turn now. Let's talk about it.
Mute his mic.
I hear everything about the kicker's hamstring falling off the bone. I hear everything about the not complex offense of the Washington Commanders. That not complex Cliff Kingsbury offense did not punt one time versus the New York Giants on Sunday. That not complex offense.
We punted once. I mean, come on. The Giants punted once.
And y'all have a 6-year quarterback. Y'all should be operating. Our quarterback is figuring out the game and didn't have to punt it on y'all sorry asses. Not only did he not punt
Score a touchdown, Rio. Score a touchdown. How about that?
In a football game. Until then, you can sit to the side, put the bag on, and let the grown men talk about football this week.
My God.
No turnovers, no punts from a rookie quarterback and 20-something new players. We ran the ball down their throat like a peewee football team. We ran for over 200 yards. We made it look easy. And on top of 430 yards of offense, we had 1,000 penalties. You want to know why we didn't score? Because we had 6 penalties inside the 15-yard line. Every time we got inside the 10, Jaden Daniels had to get 3rd and goal from the 14, 2nd and goal from the 15-yard line. We got 6 false starts inside the 20-yard line. Every time we got down there, we had to back up. But for a rookie quarterback who's still trying to figure out his life in this league, for that vaunted D-line of the New York Giants, they sacked him a few times. They even knocked him out for a play. He got his welcome to the NFL moment. He got a little body shot to the kidney, came back one play later and continued business as usual. And without our 3 best players, Terry McLaurin, Deron Payne, and Jonathan Alec, having any impact on the game, we still beat the New York Giants on Sunday. No turnovers through 2 weeks for my quarterback. 7 drives, 7 scoring drive, it should have been 49-18 because we moved the ball at will on these guys all day. They got penalty yardage, and we still converted and marched the ball down the field. We get down the field on the final drive of the game because Noah Brown, a receiver we picked up off the unemployment line 2 weeks ago, beats their defense for a deep gasher across the middle of the field. This is the early return, Washington Commanders. Jaden Daniels left a lot on the field on Sunday. The reason we didn't score some of these points is because the pressure early had him miss open opportunities. The opportunities was there because that defense of Shane Bowens is Swiss cheese. There was holes all over that mug. There was holes everywhere. We weren't able to find it and pick it apart. And yet here we are, 23 of 29 in his second NFL game. 226 yards, and gets his first game-winning drive in the NFL. And the game-changing play, the catalyst that start this game on our side was Benjamin St-Juste was able to poke the ball out of Devin Singletary's hand and force the turnover. We don't force turnover. So flipping the field was the one thing that turned the game for us because we knew if we got the ball back, even if it's only going to be 3 points, we're going to score every time we get it because they couldn't stop us because Austin Eckler, Brian Robinson, and the threat of Jaden Daniels' legs had them boys shook all day long, and that ball matriculated up and down the field all day. Respect to Malik Neighbors. They do have a good football player on that team. Jason Pinnock lived in the backfield the entire day. Their safety, he was killing it, and there was a couple times Jaden Daniels could not identify correctly where the blitz was coming from. And despite all of that, despite the fact that we're on our 5th kicker in one season, 7 for 7 in his first game, NFC Special Teams Player of the Week. There is one winless team in the NFC East, and it ain't my boys.
I will say, Ryoki's mentioning the no punting situation. There were 2 third downs that got turned into first downs because of Giants penalties, and one was bogus. It was Zach Ertz falling into a cornerback, and the cornerback got called for holding.
We ran back the opening kickoff for a touchdown, and a ticky-tack penalty called it back. So we're even. We scored on the first play of the game.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the punts. You guys act like on third down.
First play of the game, and you didn't hear me mention
that. You guys would have punted twice. This is why
the Cowboys and the Eagles need to step up because Gary, this can't be us. This can't be us at the bottom. You know what I'm saying? This can't be us.
This is embarrassing. We've got Rio saying they can't stop us. They didn't score 1 touchdown. This is like banking in 10 threes and saying you're on fire.
Hell yeah. And right now, this week, all of y'all are yelling from outside the club because there was not an ounce of victory outside of my Washington Commander. So talk to me nice.
Y'all got the early bye week, man. I can't wait till my bye week next week.
Oh my God. Next week, don't mess up and lose to the Giants, J-Tuck. Don't mess up.
This is the best way. This is the best way to describe it right here. 2 giant goofballs is saying, imagine acting like beating the Giants is something to be proud about. Gooseman comes in and saying, imagine being a Giants fan. That's what this is. That's encapsulating what that was right there.
What are we supposed to do? Not talk about the game? Is that what you'd rather do, person in the chat that has smart things to say? Take your loss and cope.
I told you guys, I got to put on the suit of armor every day, okay? It's hard being a Giants fan. You know, God chose me as his strongest soldier, and I have to be out here every day. So,
the Giants don't get one of us eventually this season, man. Let's hope it's not me. Let's hope it's not me, man.
Maybe the problem is the suit of armor is made out of Uber Eats bags. You got to be able to up the armor a little bit. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Right. A couple of super chats in here, by the way. Snack King coming in. He's saying Z-Bot the GOAT host for the GOAT division. No, I don't know about that, but I know that these four right here, the GOAT. So right now, Rio's the GOAT, as he said. Everybody's watching from outside the club. That was the best way to put it. Jaden Daniels and the boys having a ball inside the club. Everybody can't get in. Right? KB, like I said, one of these days, and it's going to be a glorious day.
I'm waiting for it.
We're going to love it.
Let it marinate. You know what I'm saying? That Carolina game, I'm going to be coming out here. Guns firing. Guns firing. Yeah, that
Had that broom ready for that November matchup, man.
Oh, week 9. Oh, we coming.
KB's he already knows the week.
Yeah. That's our next win, by the way. That's our next win.
Jaden gonna be a different animal by then, bro. We gonna be seeing a different.
You're coming to Jersey this time. You're coming to Jersey this time. Let's see how you can throw in windy MetLife. Let's go. Let's go.
Super chat.
Door Gunner saying Howie. I'm assuming Howie Roseman too focused on names and not fit. Real quick, Gary. I mean, I know. I mean, maybe you can make that argument, but my God, the names. They should fit just about anywhere, shouldn't they? I mean, they're about as good as it gets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I completely agree. And let me say this. I've got one more thing to say to Rio. Let me say something, because this man knows his football team. So let me go backwards, because I'm sitting there thinking to myself, I really think that Rio and I have this team pegged for exactly what they are. They're a football team with a really good quarterback, a team that is going to make a bunch of stupid mistakes when it matters, right? They're going to be good between the 20s. It's exactly what they were. They were really good between the 20s. You get down there, you make stupid mistakes. You do the mistakes that Kyler Murray was making when he was in Arizona in Kingsbury. So, yeah, that was the last thing I had to say about it.
Speaking of which, you said Kyler Murray. I mean, that's just like, as we recap today, all these games, a lot of these games made no sense. That Giants game made no sense. That Eagles game made no sense. And I still don't know how the hell the Saints did what they did. But then, Kyler Murray, is he not the MVP right now? Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield. I mean, I don't know what the hell is going on.
This is a weird season, man.
I know. I hope it continues tonight, and Jacoby Brissett looks like the MVP against the Jets, and that continues.
One of those weird years was like the Colts and the Cardinals in the Super Bowl or something. Right. Like one of those throwaway years.
The Giants kicker will be the MVP next week. We're going to see something strange.
Whoever that might be. It could be KB. We might not have him next week. He could be out there swinging the leg. Sean's in here. Sean's talking about the kicker, by the way. Sean's saying, no, you had a kicker, and he knew he was shit. He was, what is this? FUP? He was, I don't know.
He was effed up. I think he was
effed up. KB, that would have taken me 45 minutes to decipher. He was effed up. Nobody told his dumb to chase the returner on the kickoff return. Bro, y'all allowed over 200 yards rushing, and we had 5 penalties in the red zone. Rio, safe to say, Sean, he's not taking the excuses from KB with that W for your Commanders.
Oh, absolutely not, because we did a lot of stupid on Sunday, and not once did you hear, we got our opening kickoff return called back for a touchdown. No, because we waltzed and ice skated the ball up and down the field all day. We just didn't make it count, and we got a bunch of stupid penalties, like on the first drive of the game, 4th and 1 inside the 10-yard line. Ben Sinnott false starts. Go off the field and go kick a field goal. We get down there again, another false start. We're 3rd and goal from the 14-yard line. We literally are the only reason that we didn't punch anything in. It was nothing the Giants were doing this time.
Discipline, undisciplined team right there.
I guess the best way to put it, Door Gunner's going to close us out here with the cherry on top. He's saying, you're speaking facts, Rio. Once again, you're delivering the facts from inside the club to all the boys on the outside looking in. Week 2's in the books, fellas. Week 3, though, I think we're set up for a treat here. We got the Giants going to the Browns. We don't know what the Browns are. KB, for all we know, next week might be the week we're talking about the W. The Eagles are going to try to find out what the hell these Saints are. Are the Eagles going to be able to find out who they are? We're going to find out who somebody is in that game. Cowboys, Ravens, that is the game of the week. That might be the game of the year, depending on how things end up shaking out. Statistically, since 2000, no team who started 0-3 outside of one program in the last 24 years has made the playoffs after starting 0-3. That is a playoff game for Baltimore, and you got to think the vibe is somewhat similar for Dallas. They don't want to go to 1-2. And then, Rio, we're sharing a Monday night doubleheader. My Bills take on the Jags. Your Commanders got the Bengals. That's going to be a fun one as well. If you're looking forward to week 3 like we are, make sure to hit the subscribe button on your way out, because we're going to be previewing all of those NFC East week 3 games on our upcoming episode. So hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button so you get notified of that episode. And then on your way out the door, YouTube 150 is the promo code. You're going to get 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit with BetUS, 125% sign-up bonus on your 2 deposits after that. If you're like KB and you want to get in on that plus 6,500 with the Giants,
KB don't want that.
of those odds. Ladies and gentlemen, we can't thank you enough. We were well over 300 plus the whole night. We keep growing each and every week, and we can't wait to have you in again next week. For Rio, KB, Gary, and Jay Tuck, I'm your host, Z-Bot. Enjoy week 3, everybody, and we look forward to talking to you next week.